Yes, hello and welcome to Alan Rickman and the case of the Cobblestone Conundrum. This is a very personal and true story you are about to hear. It was the year 1800 and something in my hometown of London, England, France. Yes, it was a nice and peaceful and black and white time. Look, you can even see me there under the big clock. And what a big clock it is. But alas, the beauty was forever overshadowed in that time period where I lived by none other than murder. News spread quickly of a ghastly murder in the East End, of a dreadful mutilation of a woman, performed by none other than the malicious Jack the Ripper. Unfortunately, popular opinion and books lied about Sherlock Holmes, for he too was a murderer. And while the policemen of that time period where I lived, all they would do was stand around in lines, pose for pretty pictures, or stand blatantly in front of traffic. So, of course, to solve the case of Jack the Ripper, it was up to none other than Alan Rickman. I grabbed the nearest back of a Chinaman that I could find, and I hopped over to my mansion, where I have an extensive library of many things. That is Chadwith, my book and pipe and mustache assistant. He died in the coldest winter of 1770. Quickly, I came up with many equations in my head. My beautiful head. Did you know that I played the robot in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? I didn't know that. I said a kind farewell to my lovely wife, Rima, and made way for the greatest quest for justice I've ever been on. My first order of business was to rage to some dubstep with my homies. I did not find any answers, but I did find good drugs. I decided to visit the local pub down the block where I live in the time period of that time called the Constitution. We all drank ale merrily. One guy brought his little daughter and a dog in, and I was all like, no way is that appropriate. The bartenders agreed. The band was exceptional that evening. I finally got down to business and asked these gents where I could find Jack the Ripper. And they told me that I had to arm wrestle this guy in order for them to give me the information. Uh, 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 uh. Give Alan Rickman a real challenge. So we arm wrestled for a little while, but of course, Alan Rickman always wins. After the victory, they told me that I could find Jack the Ripper upon a bridge amongst nature in the dewy woods over a babbling, bubbling brook. Or maybe it was on a public bridge in New York. I'm not really too sure. It was about 200 years ago. But what I can recall is the glowing full moon ablazed above. And I met Jack the Ripper for a battle under the pagoda on the beach during the sunrise. And there was 5 of them, and at the time I could jump really high. But nevertheless, regardless of what really transpired on that fateful day, I did have a one-on-one battle against Jack the Ripper.
Brain stained with the harbor, sword stained with the blood of martyrs. Vengeance is never in the story, I froze the author. Trying to bother the good sight of my father, so I'm living today like there's no tomorrow.
Accidenti.
On his deathbed, Jack the Ripper brought me in ever closer to tell me his last living secret. He was none other than my wife, Rima. It can't be. After much soul-searching through the heavens, I flew gently. Why, Rima? Why? I had only one response left.
Well, I suppose you'd have to use the line from Casablanca where the policeman says, "Round up the usual suspects."